All right, hello everyone, it's Raleigh, and we're back with another teaser image. So we're 3 days away. I'm very excited to kind of see. I mean, I do know that even myself, I've been very critical of the last two expansions and stuff like that. But um, it's crazy because I feel like I'm one of those people that like I might point out more of the negatives rather than like the positives in certain things. But that doesn't mean that I don't enjoy it, right? Like I still play Guild Wars 2 because I enjoy it, and I am still excited. I think I'm more excited for this next expansion just simply because of the elite specializations. I think a lot of people are probably in the same boat because I think the elite specializations were just something that really, um, because there's something to be said about having something fresh to play while you're playing through a fresh story, right? And the last two expansions, we really haven't had that opportunity. We have been playing the same kind of like builds and the same kind of characters, and I also kind of find that balance hasn't been really I feel like the meta hasn't really been like turned upside down or anything like that. So pretty much what was strong in PvE for the longest time like has been like that for a long time. And that's not to say like that they're doing a bad job with balance or whatever, but it's just kind of like, I think the elite specializations that work in PvE have been working really well in PvE for a long time, and I think it's at the point where, now that we have for the last couple of years, we haven't had a new elite specialization. We've only had new weapons, but we're kind of stuck with the same elite specializations, and we might have just, for myself, for example, like you guys know, I play like a warrior main, right, and I play like spellbreaker. And I've been on dual dagger the whole time. Like, yes, for my offhand, I did switch over to Spear, and Spear is kind of fun, but I feel like I'm not playing, like, it's not really changing what I'm playing as, right? And that's the thing, it's like, because that's, when we have a new story, it's fine. You're playing through that story and you're experiencing new things and stuff like that. But when you have elite specializations that kind of change what a class does, it gives you like a whole different perspective on the game. And I think that probably ArenaNet realized this too, and that's why we are getting new elite specializations because they probably themselves found that just adding weapons probably doesn't change that much and it doesn't get people that excited. Um, as like as much as the elite specializations do. So, um, I'm very excited. I don't know how you guys feel. We've been talking about locations. We've been talking about lead specializations. I have no idea what the story is going to be, but Tuesday is going to be a big day. I have a feeling that Tuesday is going to be a big day. I'm going to be making a video for you guys on Tuesday, and we're going to kind of discuss whatever they're revealing. I think what they're going to be revealing, because a lot of people have been kind of asking. I know there's a lot of people in the community that are new that have not really experienced how these expansion reveals are. But the way that's probably going to work is we're going to get some blog posts. There's like 2 to 3 different blog posts, depending on how much is in the expansion, how much they're like showing us or whatever. But it's probably going to be 2 to 3 blog posts about different things. There's probably going to be I don't know. There might be like one specific blog post that just talks about elite specializations, and a one that talks about the story, and then maybe one that talks about like whatever the features are going to be or something, right? But it's going to be blog posts. We're going to see some videos. There's probably going to be some trailers. There's going to be some music, some art we're going to see. And just a general outline of what to expect within the next month. There's probably going to be or next year. I'm sorry, not next month, but next year. There's probably going to be I'm guessing, whatchamacallit, like a roadmap as well for the next few months. At least probably until the release or whatever, like from the release on or till the release, and then past that point maybe a couple months, something like that. So if you're new to that, Tuesday is gonna be a big day because that's gonna be the most info we're probably gonna get up until the release, right? We're probably going to get some betas for these elite specializations. ArenaNet has always done, even if they just added weapons, we've always gotten like beta events, like usually a weekend or so that we got, maybe 1 weekend or 2 weekends that we got to play the new things. So the new weapons has been for a thing for the last 2 expansions, but it's going to be elite specializations for the last 2 expansions. for this expansion, it's going to be the least specializations. So we're probably going to get a weekend at some point about for that. But yeah, I'm very excited. So I hope you guys are excited as well. In my opinion, like I said, and I always keep trying to tell everyone, like, I understand the criticism, I understand the constructive criticism, I understand where everyone is coming from, but the most important part is that we still have a game that we can play, right? There's so many studios that even just in the last like 2 weeks like had to close down, like all these canceled games, and it's become this like huge thing now where in gaming there's this like huge part of gaming where because it's become such a huge industry that's like if you don't get your game out, or if you don't get the game out, like, oh, there's a train right on time. If you don't get the game out in time, or you don't put out the game that people are looking for, then you're gonna go down and the studio's gonna go down and stuff like that. Like having a game like Guild Wars 2 that doesn't have a huge backing, like Final Fantasy 14 like all the other big MMOs have like giant corporations that are behind them with like massive budgets, right? Like that's the thing that sets ArenaNet so apart, because they don't have that big of a team. Their team is, as far as I understand it, is much smaller than other MMOs, and they also aren't part of like a giant like conglomerate of like a company, right? Where like WoW has obviously Blizzard, right? Elder Scrolls Online has Bethesda, right? We have what Final Fantasy 14 is Square Enix, right? Like all the big ones have like giant companies behind them that have other games that they're releasing, other franchises that could potentially like funnel money into these projects and stuff, which ArenaNet doesn't have. ArenaNet has Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2, and that's what they're relying on, right? And Guild Wars 1 is not making them really any money. I'm sure they have like a small amount of influx of money coming in there. Like people are still buying, probably mainly people from Guild Wars 2 that are jumping into Guild Wars 1, trying out or whatever, or wanting something to experience like an old game. Maybe they because Guild Wars 1 is a very unique game. If you have not played Guild Wars 1, it's a very unique game. There's no game like it out on the market. Even 20 years later, there's no game like it. So I highly recommend it. It's still a great game. If you want to learn more about the world of Guild Wars as well, it's perfect, right? Like, if you're interested in more of the world of Guild Wars and you like a very unique game, check out Guild Wars 1. I highly recommend it. But the money making thing that they have, that ArenaNet has right now as a studio, the only thing they have is Guild Wars 2, right? Like, and that makes them so unique. And having a game that's been going for like 13 years now, like that's crazy, right? That's insane. And I think that I'm just grateful for that we have another chapter of Guild Wars 2 coming out, where I can be like, man, this game that I've been putting like 11,000 hours into, probably 15,000 hours across the whole like franchise, and hundreds of videos that I've made, and hundreds of streams that I've made, and dozens of shorts that I've made, right? Like, all because that game is like still going, right? And like ArenaNet is still supporting and still doing their stuff and whatever. So I am grateful for that, and it doesn't matter, in my opinion, how the expansion turns out. Obviously, I want the expansion to turn out great. I want it to be awesome. I want it to be like the best thing ever, right? Like that's always the hope. I don't want it to fail ever, because I want to keep playing the game, or what other games they have planned for the future. But it doesn't matter how it turns out to me. I always enjoy their stuff. Like deep down, I am a fan. Not necessarily a fanboy, but like I am a fan, and I will always support them. And I think they have provided more good things over the years than I would say like bad things or whatever, right? Like if we were to put it that way. So I don't know. I just felt like saying that. But anyways, so we're looking at a new teaser, and this teaser is really, really interesting, because this is the one I want to say, like when the Dagger one came out, when the Chris one came out, right? Where like everyone was like, oh, okay, it's a weapon, but we're not getting weapons. What does that mean, right? That kind of threw a wrench in everyone's like thought process and like what they were coming up with, right? But then now this one, let's look at it. And it's so funny, because all the reactions that I've seen online have been pretty much like, okay, what are we supposed to do with this? You can't, So it's a bow and arrow, right? there's something to be said about this because it almost looks like a wing too, right? Like it looks like because a lot of people. So let's just talk about it. It's a bow and arrow, but it looks like it's almost like wings, right? And that's something that I feel like a lot of people I haven't seen a lot of people talk about, right? It's like this bow is almost like wings. So could this represent the Paragon? I don't think so because the Paragon doesn't really use a bow and arrow, right? Like they don't use a bow and arrow. Um, but we're not getting weapons anyways. So it's not like we could say, oh, well, what class doesn't have a longbow or a short bow? Like that doesn't matter. We're not getting a weapon. So obviously the icon, whenever we get weapons, it's so hard to place it because it's like, okay, we want to place it with something that doesn't have that weapon, but it's not tied to a weapon. The elite specializations aren't tied to weapons. So I think that's what makes this round. There's two things that make this round of elite specializations so interesting. It's that there is no weapon tied to it, which means that they don't necessarily need to create a theme around the weapon, right? Or have a weapon that kind of fits to the theme, right? I feel like they have more the ability to be more creative with it and just kind of go whatever they want to do with it, right? Which is really, really cool. I like that. But it's also like it kind of, it throws a wrench in everyone's thought process when they see something like that because it's like, when we think of something like the Dragon Hunter, right? Like I immediately thought of the Dragon Hunter, and I kind of have it pulled up here, right? The Dragon Hunter being the Heart of Thorns elite specialization for the Guardian, right? Which they ended up getting a bow and arrow, right? And then they ended up getting like these wings, right? Which it's from the Wings of Resolve, right? When you use it, you get this jump with these wings, right? Like that is kind of their thing. And immediately I was thinking of that, right? Like immediately I was thinking that's almost like the Guardian in a way, right? Because I think what they were trying to do with the Dragon Hunter was they were trying to kind of bring that Paragon feeling a little bit, right? Where we're getting a long range weapon. We didn't have lance spears at the time, but what's the next best thing would be a bow and arrow, right? Which the Paragon uses a shield and a spear, a throwing spear, right? Like a javelin or whatever you want to call it, right? And so that was like the closest thing. And then we had the Wings of Resolve, which again were illusionary wings. Yes, they were like these blue whitish wings, which the Paragon had golden wings, but it's still in the same kind of area. I think they were trying to kind of make some callbacks to the Paragon in a way, right? So is this the Paragon icon, right? If we go with the helmet, remember how we had the helmet, right? Like that was the second one that was revealed, and a lot of people were saying like, oh, it's Warrior and that's the Paragon. But what if that is not the Paragon? What if that is the Guardian and we're looking at the Paragon? Right? I've been thinking about this all day because I was at work when this came out and I saw the image and I shared it on the Discord, and I kind of got some thoughts, and I thought about it and I'm like, I don't know. Bow and arrow doesn't really speak to Paragon. A lot of people were saying Cupid, right? They were thinking of like, oh, if the arrowhead was like a heart, or the back here, the feathers of the arrow, right? If they were like, if this was like a heart or something, I could totally see this be like a Cupid spec or something, right? Like I'm like, okay, I can see that, but I do see wings here, right? Like because if we didn't have this fill out in the mid, like these feathery fill outs in the middle, right? Between the we just had the bow and the arrow shooting through it, right? Then I'd be like, okay, this could be like anything. Anything could be getting like the bow. But we have like feathers, so it kind of represents if you turn it like if you turn your head sideways, you can see these are almost like wings. So I don't know. I mean, I really I have no idea where to go with this, and I think a lot of people are kind of stumped by this as well because so many people were confident that like the helmet is the Paragon and like we have it all figured out and we know exactly what is what. But now I've seen a lot of people kind of trying to, again, we talk about the puzzle pieces, right? And we don't have all the puzzle pieces, and we're kind of trying to, okay, let's see how this kind of fits in, right? Now we're getting another puzzle piece that looks completely like different than any of the other things, and you're like, okay, which slot does that go into, right? So I'm super curious. I know that a lot of you guys probably watched this video thinking like, oh, Raleigh probably has an answer or he has some great thoughts. about what this could be. I really don't. I couldn't tell you. I have no idea. With Because I'm thinking obviously this is going to be mechanic wise. I'm thinking like this is going to be something where we summon like an illusionary bow. So is it going to be like you know, is the elementalist not going to get a bow? But a lot of people have been asking for like an arcane archer for many years now. So are we going to get like, are the F abilities just, instead of changing your attunement, you now use your F abilities to like shoot different elemental arrows out of a like a uh this weird like ethereal bow that you create out of magic or whatever, right? Like, is it something like that? Is it the Mesmer skin? Is the bard not coming to the, is the minstrel not coming to the Mesmer? And this is going to be like an illusionary bow that you summon instead, again, instead of like having your shatters, you now have a bow that you can use your F abilities, and depending on which F ability you use, that's a different type of like, you know, shatter skill, but you know, depending on how many illusions you have out or something, or you know, maybe this is like, instead of like stalking blades, you're stalking arrows in your quiver, right? And like each illusion is another arrow that you shoot, and then you have like a rapid fire, depending, you know, you can have up to 5 arrows in your in your ethereal quiver or whatever, and you shoot like 5 arrows out, something like that, right? There's so many different ways you could take this. Just that's the crazy part. And I did see there was one comment by a person where they were like, you know, I really hate this is like crappy advertisement for ArenaNet, because you know, in other MMOs they kind of just like, they give you the reveal of what it's going to be, but here they give you an image and you don't even know what it's for. Is it for your class or someone else's class? But that's what makes it fun, because we as a community can sit down and we can, you know, I feel like it brings us all together. It's the same, I get the same feeling when this happens. um like when it's the same feeling that I had when the legendary mode for like the raids came out and stuff, right? Like, because it brings the community together, right? We all have like this common goal. We're all trying to like get to this common goal, right? And it's the same thing here. We're trying to come to the common goal of like understanding what we all think together, right? And it kind of brings the community together. We all want to theorize, but there's nothing malicious about it, right? We're not like, no one is, there's no part of the community that's going like, well, I think your idea is stupid and I hate it, right? The only thing you'll ever really see by people is like, well, you know, I would kind of hate that. I don't know if I would really like that, but you know, if that's how it is, I hope that my class gets something good or something, you know, like, and it's so cool. I love this. This is like the best part of the Guild Wars community. I think it's part of why I went into the lore and theorizing on stuff, because I think the Guild Wars community has just cultivated that nature in the community, that like theorizing is like a huge part of it, right? It's the same, like I play a lot of Elden Ring, right? And I follow a lot of Elden Ring stuff, and I've been playing a lot of Night Rain and stuff like that. But in that community, there's a lot of people that theorize on like, you know, you can have like any item, you know, as you guys know, in the Dark Souls series and those types of games. A lot of the lore is built off of item descriptions, right? And like you get like lore tidbits out of different items that you find, and that's how they build the world. It's like, as you find items, you see the little lore that's written on about, you know, about this item or whatever, and it gives you an insight into different characters and the world and stuff like that. And people will sit down and they'll come up with these crazy theories. They'll have like, oh, this item says this and this item says this, and then this character looks like that, and then you see this animation and then it does that, and then this happens in this place and this happens in that place, and what could it all mean, right? And that's so cool, because you know, I think there's a lot of similarities between the Dark Souls community and the game, even the Dark Souls games, to the way that Guild Wars works, right? In a lot of ways, obviously, some people are like, "Wow, they're completely different games and completely different genres," but they do, in my eyes, feel kind of very similar in the way that the theorizing, the world building works in a lot of ways, and like in the way that they even play sometimes, you know, where like Elden Ring and Dark Souls and all of those are all about like positioning and hard bosses, and dodging is a big thing, right? And that's the thing in Guild Wars, right? It's like all about positioning and dodging and those types of things. So but I don't know, so it kind of, you know, I love that part of the community. I love the theorizing and stuff like that. So it's why, one of the reasons why I kind of started this channel anyways, you know, in the first place, because I really enjoyed that. Specifically, you know, I started making videos right before End of Dragons came out, but I started streaming during season 4, and I feel like season 4 was one of those moments in time where so many people had all these theories about all the things going on at that point, you know. So but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on this. I don't know where I could see this fit in a lot of different ways. I don't think this is Ranger. This doesn't really give me a Rangery feel. Again, Ranger already has like a bow, and I feel like Ranger, you know, as a fantasy trope, you know, as a role in fantasy already has like the bow attached to it already. So I feel like having an elite specialization that kind of highlights the bow in a weird way, I don't know if that would really fit. But again, it could be really anything. I mean, I don't think this is engineer. This doesn't look very engineering. Necro, probably not as well. So there's certain ones that I would kind of rule out. Revenant, this is not one that I would say really screams a Revenant to me. So I'm thinking possibly Guardian. I'm thinking you know, it could be Mesmer, could be Elementalist, could be Warrior. Because Warrior has longbow, doesn't have short bow. Again, we're not getting weapons, but I'm kind of trying to like, you know, there's obviously something going on, because I feel like if a class that already has access to both bows, short bow and longbow, and then they're getting an elite specialization that deals with a bow, right? That like I feel like that's a little bit redundant. Like, what could they possibly make with it that would feel unique in that sense? You know, where obviously we're using that as some kind of mechanic or something. So I don't know. But yeah, you guys let me know what you think. Yeah, we only have one more teaser. Monday is probably going to be the very last teaser. Monday, I'm going to sit down. I want to kind of sit down and look at all of them and give you guys my final thoughts on where I think everything kind of fits. Okay. I'm going to kind of sit down and do this whole like, okay, O'Reilly, you're going to have to like, what do you think everything is, right? Because I don't like setting myself on like one specific thing if I know we're getting more, but we're only getting one more. So I don't know. This is number 8, and then number 9 is coming out, and then after that, I mean, we only have a day to wait after that, anyways, and then we get the big reveal. So not too much longer, you know. So, but it's always fun to see the weapon ones, because the weapon ones really throw the community for a loop, and I think this is exactly what people have been doing. A lot of people are stumped, and I myself am too, because I'm like, I don't know where I would fit this, you know? So it's like, I think right up until the dagger one that we got, you know, I think we all had it like kind of mostly figured out. And then this is where things became a little shaky. And then now we're at the point where we're like, oh my God, what is happening, you know? So yeah, it'll be very interesting. I'm very curious to see what Tuesday brings. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys like this kind of stuff, I usually don't do this type of stuff. There's a lot of lore related stuff that I do on the channel and stuff. If you like this kind of thing, make sure to subscribe. And we do have a Discord server, like I said. If you guys want to join us, we've been discussing a lot about what's happening and what's going to happen. And there's probably going to be a ton of discussion come Tuesday. You know, come Tuesday when the reveal is. There's going to be a lot of discussion that, you know, a lot of things that are people like maybe expectations or things that they want to see, or maybe things that they're excited to see or something like that, you know. So, but anyways, that's going to be it for me for today, and I'll see you guys probably on Monday. I'll see you guys then. All right, bye.